Okay, so it's the question that's on everybody's mind, right? Who wins the election? Well, this is not a video to talk to you about support for either candidate. Instead, it's an educational video about real estate that I like to do here on my social media channels. I'm Realtor Bert Tade. I'm also broker owner of Santino Properties LLC. So today we're going to be talking about how election years can affect the housing market, right? I mean, I'm a real estate broker, right? So this is directly impacts our industry. There are a number of reasons that are going to affect. I'm going to focusing on seven different topics here. Hopefully, you'll stay to the end. I also want to ask you ahead of time, just in case you take off on me. Before you do, subscribe to the channel, please. Ring the bell for notifications. I want to be able to notify you when a new educational video does come out. We, of course, on this channel are going to, maneuver through, the hype, the hoopla, and all the media negativity, but instead just stick to the facts, right? And these are not sales pitches either. Instead, this is meant to be informational and educational. So hopefully you'll enjoy this video. But you can expect a regime change now, right? There will be a transition of power because we know that our current sitting president, Joe Biden, will no longer be in office, right? So here we are, about 18, 19 days till the election. And these are some of the things to consider as it relates to the housing market, right? I'm a residential realtor, so I want to talk to you about that today. So the first one is market uncertainty, right? So there's going to be slowing buying and selling activity just because of the uncertainty of future government policies, right? That each candidate typically makes certain promises, frankly, about what they're going to do in terms of housing. I know that one candidate has talked about contributing to first-time home buyers up to a certain amount to try to stimulate that. How would that affect the housing industry? Well, that's for a different video, right? But let's just talk about buyers and sellers being hesitant, frankly, to enter the market during an election year. And a lot of that's, because they just don't know how clear the outlook is going to be, right? Depending on who ends up winning the Oval Office. So there's going to be a volatility also in interest rates. That's another reason why in an election year, the markets are going to be affected by some of the things that either candidate or both candidates say, right? But there will be probably some fiscal and monetary policy changes. In fact, we just saw last month in September the Fed lowered rates by half a point, and that was the first such reduction in interest rates since 2021. Okay, so because remember, and then last year they ended up, really just going gangbusters with all of the increases in rates, right? That's the Fed, the Federal Open Market Committee, the Federal Reserve Bank, and they're often referred to as the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee. And remember, they don't necessarily set the interest rates for mortgages, which is what we're talking about here in the housing market, but instead they're in lockstep. The policy decisions are often in lockstep with Fannie Mae and mortgage lenders as well, and it's also tied to the 10-year Treasury. But number two are policy expectations, right? The tax policies that are promised by candidates. There could be some changes there, right? Including mortgage interest deductions, right? So capital gains taxes, right? And property tax rates. We'll talk about that a little bit more at the local level in just a minute. But potential homeowners, they might be holding off, on buying or selling until they know that how tax policies are going to affect them. Again, depending on which candidate wins the Oval Office, right? But there's also affordable housing initiatives like the one I just mentioned earlier, right? Elections bring discussions about that, about affordable housing and some of the initiatives that they support that might stimulate the economy and stimulate the housing market as well. But those new policies could affect both home prices and even the availability, especially in markets that are already tight. By the way, we're in a slower market right now in San Antonio, especially this year, right? Because again, the election year is what the topic of this video. So we're, I think if you do see a contribution by a candidate to people, they find room in the budget somewhere to give first-time home buyers, a whole bunch of money, tens of thousands of dollars for a house. I think we're going to see that slowing San Antonio market now get re-energized, and now you can expect for prices to go up. I know they've already kind of gone up quite a bit, 25 to 33%, depending where you are in San Antonio, because of the pandemic. It used to be, 2 to 5%, depending on the area, and we were characterized as steady Eddie by economists out of the Texas A&M Real Estate Center. They're the foremost authority on real estate here in Texas, on our markets. And every year I go to the housing forecast, and the economist always told us, no, we're steady Eddie, steady Eddie. Well, then comes a pandemic, and that changed everything, right? So the third thing I want to talk about is housing market regulation, right? So we sometimes see a housing finance reform in elections that come as a result of elections. They could lead to changes, right, in housing finance policy, as well as reform to government enterprises like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, right, and other federal housing programs. This could affect mortgage availability and affordability, right? And the other thing is, of course, what we refer to, what we talked about earlier, which were interest rate changes, right? The changes in the Federal Reserve leadership could be something right now. The chairman is Jerome Powell. Maybe that changes. Who knows? And policy direction. Now, I think that honestly, the dropping of the rates. I mean, technically, the inflation rate, depending on who you listen to, 2.4%. They brought that down considerably from 9 point whatever percent, like they wanted to, and that was kind of what spurred and convinced them to want to go ahead and start cutting rates. I think we'll see another one, but I think it was political. I mean, I think they were trying to show a certain propensity to support the capital markets. I think that had a lot to do with it, and who knows, right? There might have been some pressure there politically for the Fed to lower rates. We'll see how that kind of plays out over the next couple months. Again, we're only like 18, 19 days away from the election, right? But stock market influence, right? There is the what they refer to as the wealth effect, right? So basically what we're talking about there is that we're talking about the stock market, reacting to political events, right? So this can affect the housing market as well. So, for example, if stock prices rise following an election, homeowners may feel a little bit wealthier. Their stocks are doing really, really well, and it might boost some confidence, consumer confidence, in buying or even upgrading their house. And conversely speaking, by the way, the market might even dip if they feel like and tighten their budgets if they feel like if the market is reacting adversely to the outcome of the election. So speaking of the stock market, last few days, here we are mid October. Last few days we've seen all-time highs. Every day it's eclipsed the all-time high, 43,000 and change, right? And in Nasdaq at 18,000 and change. Those are all-time highs for the major indices. So there is certainly confidence in terms of investor confidence, right? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that also in just a moment. But I wanted to also talk to you about regional impacts, right? So again, we talk about state and local elections and how that's going to affect the housing market because they can be there could be changes in property taxes, zoning laws, rent control measures that could influence a regional housing market significantly. And sure enough, if you watched the debate just a few days ago between Allred and Cruz, that are the senatorial candidates, there was some talk about that as well. But I know that there is one candidate that supports putting caps or limits on how much the landlords can charge for rents, right? So that directly impacts housing, right? But there was a favorable thing for homeowners last year. Remember that we went to the polls last November because there was a surplus in the budget of a couple $1 billion. And homeowners got a little bit of a break in terms of property taxes. So that was a good thing. It really had to do with the spending on schools, right? They used some of that surplus money to fund more robustly, the school systems, and they were able to shave what we otherwise would have paid in taxes, shave some of that off in favor of lowering property taxes. I think that was much needed and well deserved by us, because we've been going up, 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 in terms of property taxes over the past few years, and so that was a good thing, right? And I'd always told my clients, because they would invariably every April, oh my God, I got my tax bill. What do I do? Folks that have worked with me in the past, they asked me for my advice, and I always told them, look, folks, you can protest your taxes. Absolutely. I'll give you some guidance on that. However, real change is not going to happen until we do something at the legislative level, right? The legislature in Austin. And sure enough, they did just that. So, and we're going to talk about investor behavior now. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. So there might be a shift in investment focus. So as a result of the election, investors might decide to move money in and out of the financial markets, in and out of housing, and kind of like a shell game, right? Stock markets, other assets, depending upon political outcomes and anticipated policy changes that might result from the outcome and which candidate will then be occupying the White House, right? This could impact demand for both residential and commercial real estate. And the last one I want to talk about is consumer confidence, right? This is the most important thing we need to think about, right? Because shifts in confidence are going to arise as a result of the election and the result of the election, right? Especially if the election of a certain candidate, whoever that might be, could spark some economic instability, like we were just talking about with the financial markets. That and lower consumer confidence is absolutely going to affect home sales. And people, might be more cautious about taking on long-term debt or making, major financial commitments. Likewise, there could be a post-election surge, right? So following election, if the outcome leads to a clearer economic path, based on what the candidate, had been espousing, leading up to that election, if they espoused something that was going to, boost a consumer's belief that things are going to get better, right? They can make them a little bit more confident. Then sure, there might be a reason for people to want to go out and make a move. But that's absolutely could create a rebound in the market, the housing market, as well as pin-up demand. It gets released because we just got our numbers, I think yesterday, from San Antonio Board of Realtors, and the average days on market in San Antonio are 72, 5.19 months of inventory. Well, what is that? Well, if not another house gets listed for sale in San Antonio, theoretically it would take just a little over 5 months for all of the current inventory to sell, theoretically. So that's how. And we had like 4,600 closings and change, right? And then we had, which is down 2%, and then we had about 4,400 pending listings that are currently pending sale. So between the sales and the listings, I'm sorry, 2,400, 2,600 and 2,400. So I remember that it was 5,000 was the number of homes that are basically either just sold last month or they're about to sell. But the amount of inventory, there are currently over 14,000 listings in San Antonio. It's like 14,600, 14,800. This goes to 15,000. So really, if you think about 5,000 versus 15,000, easy math tells us it's only about 30%, maybe just a third of the homes are even selling, right? The listings. So yeah, we could use a boost, right? Whatever that is, from the election and what we're talking about here, right? So at the end of the day, let's remember that it's important to not worry so much about the White House, but what's happening in your house, right? Because believe me when I tell you, people are going to make money and lose money under either candidate. I promise you that. That's the one bold prediction I'm going to make, is that people are going to, no matter who becomes president and no matter who that power transitions to, because we know it's going to transition to somebody, no matter who it is, people will lose money and people will make money. Always. Doesn't matter who's in the White House. So buckle up. It's going to be an interesting last few weeks. Don't forget to get out and vote. It is important for you to vote no matter where you are. Don't take it for granted that the candidate's going to automatically win or not, no matter where you live. Be sure to get out there and exercise your right to vote as an American citizen. Remember, people for many, many years, I won't go into, get up on a soapbox here, but remember, for many, many years, we had women's suffrage, right? Women weren't allowed to vote to the turn of the 19th to 20th centuries. Can you imagine for how long women went without being able to vote? Terrible. How about minorities? And people have died, literally died for that right, to fight for that right to be able to vote. And now I think it's sometimes taken for granted. So it's our civic duty to do so. I hope you get out and vote, no matter who your candidate is. May the best person win, and may our country, our great country, the United States of America, continue to prosper into the next 4 years of whoever's term. That's it for now. Thanks for watching this video, and hopefully you got some interesting information. This has been of service to you. Remember that this is a resource, a free resource. No obligation, no charge for the educational videos that I put out. I've got well over 100 of them on YouTube now, and of course on Facebook. So visit my social media channels and check out some of the other videos that I made. I have a series called Sipping Coffee or Tea with Realtor Bert Tade that I'm very proud of, where I touch on a lot of subjects, right, for both buyers and sellers alike. So hopefully these videos are of value to you. Be sure to leave me a comment below and hit the subscribe button. And I want for you to reach out if you have any questions, 210-376-TALK. I'm Bert Tade, broker owner of Santino Properties LLC. Thank you for watching my video. Take care.